Good evening, everyone, or actually, I should say, good morning. Sorry it took me so long, but I must report that more than half the guests showed up, and I had more than 30 teenagers at my house at one time tonight, and I had my hands full. And while I'll say that I did fairly well as the host, and I did fairly well as dad, I did terrible as photographer. I got so busy that I forgot to take pictures. How's that possible? But there were so many kids here, I can't imagine they weren't on their cell phones popping pictures and that kind of thing. So I'll try to do a Facebook roundup, so to speak, and see if I can get those kids to, all those young people, to tag my wall and let you see some of the party while it was at its height. And I'm telling you, these kids had a good time. They were dancing and laughing and talking. It was great. They really were. Guys, if you're watching and you were one of the guests at the party, man, don't old people hate when their teeth fall out? Come in, come in, come in, come in, honey. I have to redo my post because there was no audio. What'd you say? Huh? Really? Um, Tell her I need to talk to her, but don't go anywhere. She's fine. She's not in super trouble, but I need to know where she went. Okay, I'm going to close my door for a minute, honey. Okay, yeah. See, here's the deal. This party was fantastic, and the behavior was stellar for everyone. But um, the deal that I had with the girls was that, I was going to allow them to have a sleepover after the party, but they were only going to allow to have two of their friends each. Well, without getting into a whole lot of detail, one of the girls I was supposed to be in charge of vaporized. And come in, and so I've got to talk to her. I'm so glad you're back and you're safe. Girl, I've been worried about you. I called Vorda, but I'm glad you're okay. Call, but no, call her and tell her where you are because I told her that you call her now. Use Nisha's phone because I'm doing my Facebook post, and I was worried about you. Okay, okay. Here, let me finish doing this, and then I'll make the thing. Honey, you don't look well. Are you all right? Is your head still hurting? Is it? Honey, lay down for a minute. I mean, if you need to, just have them go into the living room and close the door to your room and do that because I have to set up that bed and then I'll talk to Mimi. Hey, folks, I got daddy stuff to do. But what's that? Yeah, go ahead. I've got daddy stuff to do, but I definitely wanted to let you know that this party turned out so great. These kids had a good time. They were well behaved, and the folks that came in to help chaperone, I introduced you to them earlier. My sister-in-law and my mother-in-law. Man, they left my house clean. I mean, when I say clean, they washed the dishes and wow, you would never tell that there were more than 30 people here eating. We fed them. It wasn't like, they stood around, and they ate. You know how teenagers are. So, but yeah, in the midst of all of that, like I said, somebody I was responsible for, wow, it was kind of scary for a minute. But the first thing I did, I called her mama. And so, but she just got back and, here, let me pan the camera over there. I'm not going to tell you what time it is, but let's take a moment of silence and see if we can reflect on the image over my head. See that? That was my daughter. Ooh, ooh. She left over an hour and a half ago. Literally just going three houses up. Okay. Glad she's safe. You feel me on that? I really am because some crazy people out there. So, just in future reference, if for some reason you find yourself or your child knows mine and they're invited to my house, I would protect them like they're my own as long as they're here. And even if I ran into them in the mall, you know what I mean? A friend of my child is an extension of my child. I have to treat him as such, because in some cases, those friends, they exert more influence over your kids than you do. Don't fool yourself. There's the rare occasion where there is the kid that totally listens and does everything his parent says? Really? And I was a good kid, but even I didn't do that. Part of growing up is growing out and out on your own, and part of that is, not listening sometimes and doing your own thing. And that's the balance, is to know when to let go and realize that, you really can't make them do anything. You think you can make a teenager do something? What? Are you going to use violence? And that's still not going to work. You have to remind them that they make the decision and then they have to live with that decision. And all you can ask them to do is to at least weigh both sides of whatever action they're thinking about taking. I don't care whether it's, should I use the blue pen or should I use the black pen? Or should I get in this car with these fools, or should I call my parents and get a safe ride home? Those are the things that I want to focus on, trying to help them at least weigh both sides of a decision. Because I can't say make a good decision, can I? That's subjective. What's good for me may not be necessarily good for them. I recognize that. I hope to, anyway. Well, I thank you for your interest and, more importantly, your prayers and support. They're helping us cope and move forward with our lives since my wife died nearly 50 days ago. Wow. She was here at this party, though. I could tell just by how smooth it was and how much fun people were having, and the smiles on the girls' faces, and not just mine, but the other kids who were here. Kids, it's important to let them grow up and let them feel grown up. Because you know what? They're going to be. Do you think you can hold them back? Really? If that's true, I want to tell you that story about that little kid with his finger in the dike. um, some things aren't reasonable. And to think that your child is not going to grow up with or without your permission, I don't mean to laugh at you, but if you're in that category, I'm sorry. I am laughing at you. It's inevitable. There's nothing you can do. You have to accept it. Accept it. And I do. Teresa did. We know that we can't make them do anything. We can only, at this point, the actual parenting is more advising. It's not parenting. When I could parent them, when they would say, "I'm not sitting in that chair," I could pick their little behinds up, boop, and sit them in the chair. Those days are long over. She turned 17. Doing that now is called assault, child abuse. You know, I'm not taking that route. I don't need to. I don't want them to think under any circumstances it's okay for any man, not even this one, to put hands on them. And so it's the kind of parenting I'm doing. I'm glad they had their party because, like I said, the teenagers enjoyed their space, and I gave them some, only a little bit, because then I noticed a little too much huggy, huggy, huggy sitting on the lappy. And I'm like, not on my couch. I'll throw you all out. And it kind of settled up. So it settled down a little bit after that. Can you imagine? Especially, look, look, look. Okay, they fell on the floor, but in my floor. Look, I did this. That was a metaphor for how I talk to them, but I'm sure any teenager in that crowd will tell you, oh my God, he means business. I had no idea the newsman could be so raw. And by raw, I do not mean profane. I just mean stern, not kidding, that kind of thing. So, it went good. When I say it went really good, I can tell that these girls are figuring out in their head, when can we have another party? Our friends had so much fun, and they did. Thank you so much for your prayers, because I know that's partly what made this a success. And of course, our guardian angel, Teresa, watching from above, helping us cope, and we are, because God loves us. Even in the darkest, darkest time, God loves us. And He loves you too. So do I. You have a good night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.